So when we were working with Turner, the goal was to try to pair advertising with contextually relevant scenes in their film database. The hypothesis was that the scene would create an emotional prime, working on an unconscious level that would lift engagement to that target advertising. And we were able to show that there was a significant lift to the ads that were placed in a contextual environment relative to ads that were just placed in the movie where it wasn't a contextually relevant spot. And we were able to demonstrate this is happening on an unconscious level and in a meaningful way. And what that allows us to do is to help Turner show the benefit of taking that extra step of tagging scenes for relevance and then placing advertising near it. This is advertising that is placed on TNT during their films. And the idea is to create a contextually relevant situation. So the takeaway is that context matters. If you put a food ad in the Food Network and a food ad in a show about the Galapagos Islands, you're going to get less of a contextual effect to a documentary that has nothing to do with food. And we see all the time that the context matters for how people experience things. And that makes sense because the brain is a context machine. It's very sensitive to its surroundings. If I give someone a hot cup of water and ask them to rate the temperature of the room, and then I give them a cold cup of water and ask them to rate the temperature of the room, they're going to rate it significantly higher with the hot cup and significantly lower with the cold cup because it creates a context for how we experience the world. The idea is to try to create a need state and then have that product, brand, or service fulfill that need state. And what Turner's doing is trying to be very thoughtful about where they place ads relative to what's happening in the film. For online video, the same rules apply, which is if there's a contextually relevant environment, that video for that ad is going to do better than if it's in a non-relevant space. So a technology product in a technology website is going to do better than a technology product in a generic news site or a generic context. I think that sometimes it happens by accident, and I think more and more the online marketers are getting more savvy about targeting their audience and paying attention to the context in which the advertising is occurring. Innerscope measures biologically based signals of emotion on an unconscious level. And the idea is that we have both conscious processing and unconscious processing. And traditional measures have done a terrific job of measuring what people say and what they are experiencing on a conscious level. We're adding biometrics and eye tracking to measure what's happening on an unconscious level. And today what we're doing is working with clients really at all stages of development, from early concept to early ad testing to final ad testing, and even media planning, sort of helping to see what kind of wear out an ad will have in market and what kind of resiliency it'll have over time. And that's been very promising for advertisers as they can think both on a conscious level and on an unconscious level. What neuromarketing can't do is make things up. It can't create things out of the air. So our tools are very stimulus bound. We really need something to react to. And so when we're working with creatives, it really is a collaboration to sort of think about what are the goals of the communication and what are the different types of stimuli. But those stimuli have to come from a creative place that has meaning and that ultimately will trigger emotions down the road. Yeah, I was very taken by some of the conversations about multiculturalism on the first day. And one of the challenges of multiculturalism is really understanding what is called acculturation, which is what is the line that a person who is entering this country and speaks a foreign language and then comes into a new culture and eventually begins to take on attributes of that culture. That's a very gray zone. And identifying that zone and that transition, I think, creates real challenges for marketers and really for everyone. And as that's happening more and more, it's going to become a bigger challenge. How Innerscope is approaching it is by creating separate databases for Spanish language speakers that we can then compare to English language speakers. We're also building international databases so we can understand the culture in the UK versus Germany versus Japan versus China and begin to understand not only the cultural context but the emotional context and how that changes across cultures.